Reading stories out loud is the most important thing your student will do, as it's where he or she gets a chance to practice reading. You should ideally spend 15 to 20 minutes of your session each week reading stories, but each child will be different, and some may not be able to concentrate on reading for that long earlier in the year. When you're ready to read stories, click on the story icon from the activity menu. The story level that your child is reading at will always be displayed in the yellow box at the top of the screen. Remember, you are free to change the levels as the child progresses. Teachers may also update levels, and if they do, you will notice the child's level has changed the next time you log on for a reading session. The student will tell you what story they would like to read by giving you the number next to the story title. Select the story and your student can start reading. Let's take a look at a typical story and make sure it's clear what you do and what your student will see. When you choose a story from the library, the child will see the title page of that story on their screen. Often the names of the author and illustrator are also displayed here. These can be complicated words, so you may wish to read these to your student. Please note that this title page may also contain a challenge word. This is a word that the child will not know at their reading level. Please read this word out loud to your student and discuss its meaning. Now it's time to move into the story. While you can advance the stories forward using the arrow keys, your student will not have that option and can only see the page number. You might decide to look through the whole book with your student before reading it. You can mention some of the key or challenging words and give them a sense of the story before they read it, which can boost the confidence of early readers. You may also want to take turns reading with your student if they struggle or are reluctant to read. You could alternate reading each page. This is a good way of taking the pressure off and modeling fluent, expressive reading. Depending on what level your student is reading at, there are two different types of stories to choose from: reading stories and decodable stories. Reading stories are included at each reading level and use words that students are learning in first grade. By reading these stories, students are increasing their word knowledge and practicing newly learned words. At the higher levels, reading stories also include a variety of subjects such as science, global experiences, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. These stories can inspire and create human connections by giving children exposure to other cultures, traditions, and experiences. Decodable stories found in the lower levels are a great tool for early readers because the words are easier to decode. The repeated readings of the decodable stories help readers with fluency and word recognition, especially as it relates to phonics patterns and high-frequency words students see often in first-grade text. As you read, you may want your student to focus on a particular word. You can do this in two ways. First, you can click on a word on your screen, which will highlight the word on the child's view of the page, or you can show that word to your student by typing in the message box. For example, if your student is struggling with the word sing, you can type the word or its individual letters in the message student box and send that word to your student. Remind them to sound it out using their phonics, but don't hesitate to give them the word if they seem stuck. When you send the word to your student in this way, it will appear for them as if spoken by a small owl in the top left of the screen. Asking them what the owl is saying is a good way to check they can see the word you've sent. If you selected I Speak Spanish when you registered, you may be paired with an early English language learner. When reading stories with your student, you will have the option to toggle between the English and Spanish version of a story. This will help support word learning if your student is struggling with the passage in English. If the student is struggling with the English version of the text, flip to the Spanish version. Reading the passage in Spanish will help the student better understand the context of the story when reading the same passage in English. It can be hard for children to concentrate only on reading stories for a full 30 minutes. That's why our platform also contains 5 word activities that you can choose to use with your student. You'll find that your child will develop firm favorites and enjoy beating you. It's up to you whether you use these at the end of the session before you say goodbye or in between stories to mix things up a little. The games are Word Sort, 3 in a row, Mystery Word, Word World, and the whiteboard. What follows is a brief look at each game. To view step-by-step instructions, see the directions sidebar on each page. In the word sort activity, students will practice sorting words based on their word endings. This is great practice for students learning how to sound out words. As the volunteer, you will select the word from a list of 9 words you'll see above colored boxes. Your student will see the colored boxes on screen, but will only see the word you select. Ask your student where the word belongs based on the word ending. Once you click on the appropriate box, the word will populate and the student will see the same word in the box on their screen. Once all the words have been placed in a box, draw your student's attention to the similarities of the words. Then ask your student to read the words in each box. 3 in a row is a favorite activity for many students. This additional exposure to words will help encourage fluent reading and word identification. When you're ready to begin, determine who will be a cross and who will be a naught. Notice each box has a word. Your student can see the same words as you. Taking turns, you and your student will try to be the first to get 3 crosses or naughts in a row, up, down, across, or diagonally. Tell your student to select a box. Before placing the cross or the naught in the box for your student, have the student read the word in the box. When you place a cross or a naught in the box, your student will see the same thing on their screen. Mystery word is a fun way of learning vocabulary and will help students remember the spelling of new words. To begin, think of a word or use one of the suggested words found on the right side of your screen. The student cannot see these words. When you have a word in mind, click on the number of letters of the word. Your student will see the same number of blank spaces on their screen. As your student begins to guess letters, click on the letter on the keyboard. This will highlight that letter for both you and your student. Place your cursor on the appropriate line and select the letter using your computer keyboard. Your student will see each letter on their screen. You may find your student needs a little help getting started with this activity. Consider filling in the first letter or offering a clue to help your student guess the word. Word World is a fun way for students to practice spelling and word patterns. To play, spin the wheel to begin. A word will appear on your screen, but the student will not see the word. The spinner will stop on a letter, which will populate on the student's screen. Click No to continue spinning until there are enough letters for the student to guess what the word might be, or until the student can read the word on the screen. Click Yes when the student guesses the word, or to play the game again. The whiteboard simulates a magnetic board and is great for practicing spelling, difficult words, or making up fun sentences. Type a word or phrase in the field at the bottom of the screen. When you click Submit Word, your student will see the same word or phrase on their screen. You can also move words and phrases around by dragging anywhere on the board. Remember, you will always have a chance to practice activities prior to your session using the practice tool that we covered in the first training.